Thank you all so much. I will do my best, but I am letting you all know I went to bed at like 8 p.m. Finnish time, and I got up at 2 a.m. because, my body was just like, hi, you're not going to be on America time or Finland time. Lucky you. So I will do my best to bring the energy. I found a couple of funny things that I wanted to share. I thought this was great. Somebody at Panera was like, I found a bug in my salad, and they're like, that's not a bug, it's a feature. And I was like, dev jokes. Right? This one made me giggle. Oh man, it's 3 a.m. I should really get off the computer and go to bed. That's my life right there. So yes, today I want to talk a little bit, and I know it's the end of the day, we're all getting tired. So I will make it as brief as possible so we can get to the after party. But I want to talk to you guys for a little bit about innovation and my experience with it in psychology. So it should really have a just in there because obviously we all know technology goes into innovation. They're hand in hand. But I want to talk to you guys about a couple ideas about why it's not just about the technology, but also the psychology behind it. And I want to start with this one by Linda Holmes. So it is the recognition that well-read is not a destination. There's nowhere to get to. And if there was somewhere to get to, you would need 1,000 years to even think about getting there. I love that quote from her. So many of us strive to be well-read as developers. I've seen it time and time again, being in the dev industry, being surrounded by friends and coworkers, people who want to know it all and do it all. And me being my curious self, I want to know why. Do we want to know it all? Do we want to do it all? But for the sake of being well-read? Just to be like, yeah, I've done that, right? I mean, I've definitely put things on my to-do list just so I could be like, yeah, I did that. Or is it maybe because there's something more? I really want to examine these motives, our motives, today in this talk, behind wanting it all, and the price that it can cost to being great. So why do we do what we do? Why do we try so hard? Why are we here, paying money to be here, to listen to people talk? Right? Do you ever think these questions to yourself? I'm probably weird. Yeah, I'm the only one. It could be because we're lifelong learners. Maybe because we're always wanting to learn new things and hear from people and new ideas. Maybe it's because we want to commune with our own kind. It's one of my favorite things about these gatherings is a nerd fest. I actually get to say dev jokes and people laugh instead of just the normal reaction of this weird head shake that I get. I know you should probably stop just telling dev jokes to the marketers. I get it, right? But I just can't help it. But why? Maybe it could be that innovating isn't just about the technology, but the psychology too. We do what we do, here at home at that crappy coffee shop down the street, because we want to make our mark. We want to be great. And we're either terrified or ecstatic about it. And I've actually found a third group of developers. I call them the you do you bears, because they're neither. They're not really going anywhere. They're not really scared about anything. They don't really want anything. They're just there. And when I discovered them, I was like, oh God, who are you? I don't know if you've ever met them. So I'm acknowledging, here's my hat, tip off. I get that not all of us here give a crap. But for the sake of this talk, we're putting people in two camps. So here's the deal. Whether you're ecstatic or terrified, there are common pitfalls that we can watch out for, and these are the costs that can go along with being great. So the first time that I gave this talk, I asked the audience afterwards what they struggle with, because this talk was originally just my pitfalls that I had experienced and wanting to warn upcoming junior devs. Hey, watch out, these exist. And so I asked the audience what they struggled with. And if you can imagine, just obviously, it's a soft talk, but if you can imagine just asking a general room of devs, hey, what do you struggle with the most? I was extremely surprised by this answer because not only was it given to me, but it was given to me time and time again. So much so that I had to add it to the talk, even though I had never experienced it before. Is fear. I was really surprised when I heard this answer. I don't know, I'm a weird duck. I'm a brave adventurer. New things excite me, scary challenges, they make me want to try all that harder. I had this saying in high school, want a race? I was on the swim team. I would go and ask like the varsity guys who I could never compete with, you want to race? Because I wanted to. I wanted to try, even though I knew I was going to fail horribly. So that, to me, when I heard all of these developers coming up to me, like, we're talking like senior devs, not just like juniors, telling me, hey, I think your talk was great, but you didn't mention fear. I was like, there's something to this. And whether it was the fear of learning something new, fear of the unknown, fear of getting stuck, fear of something being too hard, fear of looking dumb. So actually, even though I hadn't experienced it before, within the last year, I did a coding interview, and it wasn't quite whiteboard, like it wasn't up there. But I remember going into it, and I was like, this is what they were talking about. Yeah, because I was like nauseous. Like I had this feeling in my stomach, and I was like, what is this feeling? Like, it's abnormal for me. And I was like, I think I'm afraid. And I was like, let's evaluate this, right? I'm so weird. I'm like, let's evaluate this weird feeling you're having. And it was because I was afraid of looking like an idiot. I was like, what if they ask me a question and I just kind of give this fish face? Like, you've seen it. You've seen the fish face. Like, it's kind of my go-to weird freeze for some reason. But no, sorry, I'm going to jump to, I did not do that animation properly. Okay. So I've learned through, I don't know, I really like to do extreme things like I like scuba diving at night in dark caves, or I guess skydiving would be maybe an extreme thing to some people. And the fear part of me is kind of wired wrong, I think, because to me it's just this excitement, it's this exciting feeling. And there's only a few times, like in that coding interview, where it wasn't exciting, it wasn't fun, it was literally just nauseousness and awfulness. And so most of the time, my fear is something that I lean into in order to I guess get more out of the experience. It's like kind of like an adrenaline rush. So I'm acknowledging right now that there are two types of people out there. The brave adventurers, right? You might be someone in the audience today, you're like, yep, I've never experienced fear either, right? So you're in that camp. Or you're someone who's like, yeah, I have that nauseousness, like I've been there. So even if you can't really identify with one of those camps, I think it's really important to point out that there are so many people who do. There are so many coworkers, co-designers, co-developers, these people around you, perhaps even people who've taught you things, mentors, that are experiencing fear to move on to something new and exciting. And that should be important to you. Because even if you're not struggling with it, it means that other people in our dev community are. So it's important to realize that not everyone is bold and fearless, and that some of your friends might need a helping hand, to get past that bump of fear that they feel in the face of something new, even if it's something small. We cannot be great alone. So to you out there with the same feeling of fear, I will tell you what I tell myself. I go, Alyssa, it's okay to be afraid, but you cannot let it crush you, right? There's so many times that I've seen my friends not go after that job, not go into that scary interview, not go after that, that speaking gig, because they were too afraid to. And to me, this is baffling, because I get that we have scary things, but to let it stop you from doing something that could be amazing is just mind-boggling to me. So you cannot let it crush you. What I do is I lean on my friends, other people in the community, coworkers, my husband, all of whom are developers, and I let them speak strength into me, right? So somebody who you can be real honest with, let's get real, and who you can open up and let them speak strength into you, because we cannot do this alone. We can't be great in this industry alone. So I know, I use the word winner and wiener as synonyms. Don't be weirded out, it's just me. So it's vital to be surrounded by winners, with people who truly care and who can push and push and push to make you better. These are the people who challenge us, who constantly teach us without even knowing that they're teaching us. I don't know if you have that in your life, but I can point to a few devs who, they just learn something new and it's like an itch. They're like, did you learn about this thing? And you're like, oh, no, show me. So you've got these people in your life, and if you don't, oh my gosh, get a different crowd. You've got to surround yourself by these people who will build you up and help you realize your dreams. And these can even be people who might be able to say hard things, who can speak raw truth to us, but out of a love and a desire to better us, not to tear us down, because there is a difference. I'm actually getting a phone call right now. That's really weird. That's never happened before. I'm like, wow, I've been giving talks for 4 years now, and I've never received a phone call. That's a first. Anyways, so yes, these people that I'm talking about surrounding yourself with, that they say raw truths into you. If you don't have them, I think where you're at right now is a really good place to start. It's where I started in this industry, and honestly, just finding those people who have the same weird quirks as you, the same interests as you, even if it's just somebody on Twitter who you never really meet in person, but just someone. You've got to have that someone. So innovating is not about technology, it's about psychology. And we do what we do because we're either terrified or ecstatic to make our mark. I've been told more times than I care to count how passionate I am, how much I care, and how that enthusiasm invigorates those around me. It's a great place to be. I love it. I'm always excited to learn, brimming with questions, staring down that error in Chrome, what do you got for me, right? That's who I am. But I can't tell you how many of my friends are stuck in this place of complacency. And I call it the SWW Club. I don't know if any of you know Jack Johnson, but it's I've been sitting, waiting, wishing. Yeah, okay. So many of my friends, many devs who I know are in this club, and they have this attitude, and they seem to think that sitting and waiting and wishing, it's the way to be. And so if you or someone you love is a part of this club, I have a 3-step cure to help you out. Ask why more. This is something that is ingrained in me, but too many devs just will sit around and just they don't soak it up. They don't stop to ask why. And I think why is the most important question that you can be asking. So you start asking why about a feature, about a chunk of code, about whatever. It's showing that not only are you understanding what you're being taught, but that you're ready to understand the reasons behind that. So yes, why? Why is that the best way of doing things? Why does that method work like that? If you're not asking why throughout your development process, I have to wonder if you're actually learning and growing, are you actually on your way to greatness? Or are you just stagnant? Teach, number 2. My number 2 thing that's helped me out the most. The most influential devs, like I talked about earlier in my life, they cannot help but teach. Some of them do it as a profession, whether online or in a classroom, but most of them don't. They just do it innately. They're a developer by day, but I guess at the coffee shop they're a teacher. I don't know, wherever you run into them, they're teaching people around them the cool tidbits that they find out, or better ways to do things, or why something works the way it does. So teaching others is such a core part of people with this personality. And I really think that that's what it's going to take in this industry to be an innovator, to make the difference. Because you can't wait around to be spoon-fed, right? At some point you have to step up and start teaching. And teach others, yes, that helps grain things into yourself, but teach yourself. Constantly be learning more. And this will help with the sitting, the waiting, and the wishing. And another thing to get you out of the SWW blues is to want more. Which I'm going to back up this one. So I don't know if you've ever been here, but you're I have a good job, good culture, good benefits, good friends. I know what's expected of me. It's comfortable. It's safe. But are you growing? I think you can be in a spot where everything's jolly and you're still growing. But when I was at one of my first jobs in this industry, I walked out of the filming studio, because I was teaching code, and I walked out, it was the end of the day, and they're that's a wrap, And the CEO walks up to me and he goes, "That was incredible. You were so good at this." And I was like, "I know. I have to go now." because I wanted to be a developer and I was teaching too much and I was really good at teaching. But I wanted to be a dev, and they would not let me do more of the dev and less of the teaching, and I had just spent so much time perfecting this one skill that I was worried about these other skills, and I felt very comfortable in my job. I could walk in front of a camera and do whatever you need me to do. You've got a script that you just wrote from marketing, great, I'll memorize it in literally 60 seconds and be able to do it. It was so easy, but I guess I didn't feel comfortable because I wasn't uncomfortable, if that makes any sense. So something to help with that is wanting more. I'm surrounded by amazing people in my life, and they ask me hard questions, and they speak truths into me. However, at the end of the day, I'm still responsible for me and where I'm at. And when I look back in 20 years, I'm going to be the one that pays for my regrets or the lack thereof in my career or whatever in my life. So you and you alone are responsible for choosing a path and demanding more out of life. So want more, you guys, because you're totally worth it. Innovating is not about technology only, but psychology too. Understanding our motives behind why we do what we do is just one small part. And sadly, we don't have time, a lot of time for many more. There's a lot into this. I got one of my degrees in psychology and one in web development. So there's a lot that you can study with psychology. But I want to go back to this quote that I opened with from the beautiful post that Linda Holmes wrote. And there was another part of it, the sad, beautiful fact that we're going to miss almost everything. When I first read that, I was yeah, I'm sure you can just imagine my face. I was almost horrified, because I'm literally a person who's I'm going to know it all. You can't tell me that. And then whenever I was statistically speaking, you will die having missed almost everything. That's so true though. And it's so funny because it's not just about tech, but just in the world in general to know, which is what she was talking to. She was speaking to that. But for our industry alone, just for the freaking JavaScript community alone, this is so true. And I was just wow, it just really rings a bell. And I was kind of depressed. I was ew, so we're all just gonna die, thanks. No, I do. I wanna know it all and do it all. But admitting this fact has merit. And it was admitting my own, I guess, mortality in a way. Because I was I'm going to die. I'm not gonna be able to do everything that I envision I'm going to be able to do. But how often does hanging on to an illusion actually help us? Right? This illusion that, yeah, I'm gonna be able to conquer the world, right? It's a great place to be, but at the same time, no matter how much we want it, is it going to benefit us in the long run? And with, of course, like I said, our ever-changing and ever-growing just JavaScript, all the frameworks. So at this point, we have two options. We have two ways to handle this surge of things thrown at us daily, and it's cull or surrender. Has anyone ever heard of culling? No? Okay. I'm always worried because when I read this article, I was just oh, culling. And so I started researching it, and then I was oh man, I bet this is such a common thing, because there's a lot of those in my life where it's such a common thing and everyone's yeah, duh. So culling is easy. Culling is the process of getting rid of things in your life that you don't enjoy. So can you get rid of anything? So one of the main things that came up in my mind was ooh, things I don't enjoy. Email. I really hate email. But obviously you can't just be yeah, never email again, that'll work for you, right? So I realized that not every task or job that you have, you can just throw out the window. But something that you could do is maybe you could take all the tasks that you really just kind of loathe and put them on one time slot a day, or all on one day of the week even. I know email probably doesn't work that well, but if I consolidate it to just, this is the time when I do this task that I don't enjoy, and the rest of it gets to be development fun, or whatever it is for you, that's the thing. I think being able to compartmentalize might help. But honestly, if there are other parts of your, your job or your day-to-day life that you're just like, good Lord, this is dragging me down, and there is a way to get rid of it, culling, right? That's the easy part, just get rid of things. So I want you guys to take a couple seconds and answer this question for me. What drains you throughout your day? What zaps your ponder gore? This is like my side note. Did you answer all of the things? Please don't tell me that. If you did, it's okay, but maybe development isn't for you. I've met people like that, like I said, the you do you bears that I'm like, why are you here? And it was very actually startling to meet someone like that, because to me, I'm like, of course all developers care, like just in general, like it was shocking. So, but even if you're a top developer getting paid bajillions of dollars with mad respect and fame from your community, if every part of your job is the answer to what drains you, then you have got a lot of work to do to find something better. Life is too short to be spent like that. The second thing outside of culling is surrendering. There's so many things that I like and so many things that I want to do, but being honest that we don't have time to do it all and know it all is going to free up our most precious and rare asset, right? It's going to free up our time to actually do the things that are most important to us in life. And I don't know if you've noticed this, but just take a small glimpse of our life and call that development. And looking at development, I have been so much more successful when I was like, I'm going to focus on this one part of Angular, not even all of Angular, just this one part of Angular because I need it for this feature. And I think as far as our life as a whole, it's, I guess, more of a tall tower than a flat landscape, right? I want to go down this one path. And I think you could be one of those that dabbles, but you're never going to reach that height if you have all your hands in all the honeypots. So deciding on what's truly important to life and just surrendering the rest is really freeing. Yes, that quote, I love that. It's time to surrender and admit the sad, beautiful fact of life. You will never be able to do it all. And admitting this and having this attitude in life will set you free and will ultimately allow you to become better than all the average schmoes that are actually trying to want and do it all. Admitting that you will never do it all will open doors for greatness. It can. I've seen it happen. I was at a conference, and this one fellow was like, how do I get to be you? And I was like, so I'm going to walk you through my thought process when this guy came up to me. I was like, a woman? I don't know why. That was the first, I was like, how do I get to be a woman? And then in my head, I was like, no, he doesn't want to know how to be a woman. And then I was like, a developer? And I'm like, no, we're at a developer conference. That can't be right. I know. I'm like, these are all going through my head. You can, see it churning as he's asking me this. And I'm like, maybe he means a GDE, a Google Developer Expert. And so we talked about that for a minute. It turns out that was kind of what he was asking, but what he was really wanting to know was, how do I get to be known? And so I thought that was a really interesting question, and I've been asked kind of variations of it. So I wanted to talk a minute about the two paths that I've seen. And if you think of something else, please let me know afterwards, because I'm always learning and growing, and the fear thing, I didn't see that at first, and it was a huge thing that a lot of devs struggle with. So the two paths that I see to get to be known, this is going to be a shocker, technology. So I've seen lots of friends get big jobs by doing things in open source, and then that really led to awesomeness for them. Online courses, that led to them getting known and getting amazing jobs, or Stack Overflow, I've seen that happen. But it all really comes down to brilliant programming. That looks really trippy on this. Whew, sorry. Maybe you shouldn't stare at that. All of these things, though, they did come down to brilliant programming. And I'm not this. This is not the way that I've gotten any job, ever. And I will always admit that technology is my weak side. And it's something that I love, I'm super passionate about, but it's not where my strength is. So technology, I've seen it time and time again help people become known. Psychology is obviously the path that I took. And that's through things like this. right? That's through, I can't even explain to you. My first job out of college, I didn't even apply. I went to meetups. I was going to Full Sail in Orlando, Florida for a web dev degree. And I went to meetups during my time there, and I would just like volunteer to talk. Or I went to bar camp, which was like, you know, foo bar. People are like, they see my bar camp shirt and they're like, you're a bartender? And I'm like, programmer, but close, right? Yeah, I know. I'd go to things like bar camp and sign up on the whiteboard to do a talk. And I ran into a CEO of Code School, and he got to talking with me, got my number, and like the day before I graduated, he texted me and was like, has anybody scooped you up yet? And I was like, nope. And he's like, come into the office on Monday. Nobody knew who I was. They're just like, oh, I think that's the girl that Greg hired. Like, it was so bizarre. I like walked into the office and he's like, so this will be your desk? And I'm like, okay, what am I gonna do? Like, it was so weird. But that's honestly just this weird, like, socializing and like community has been the way that I have found like my place in this community, and I've seen others do it too. So there's these two ways, the one, the technology, two, the psychology. Please let me know if you have a third one, because this is all I've seen as far as people becoming known or making it big or, you know, finding their dream. And I just really want to address the hibernation bears out there. If this isn't you, if you're just chilling, that's fine. If you don't get anything out of that talk, this talk, that's fine. The worst thing to do is to like force like desire upon somebody. Like, you need to be better, right? So if you are literally just chilling with your career, with your dev work, with whatever you're doing, that's fine, and you do you. And that's why I call you do you, Bear, because I don't want like insane passion and advancement and like goals isn't for everyone. And good God, could you imagine the world if it was? Like, everyone would be like murdering each other. I don't know, it'd be insane. So be thoughtful and intentional, right? I think something that's just really served me well, it's kind of driven me a little bit insane because I'm super like analytical as far as like, now why did that person say that in that tone, right? Like, oh my God, like sometimes I just want to get away. But it's really helped me to be thoughtful and intentional with myself, my actions, my goals. And I think so many people let a lot of time slip by without really just thinking things through and being like, where do I want to be? What do I want out of this? So yeah, I think that just the fact that you guys are here, it shows that you care a little bit, and it makes me really proud, because some of those people, I call them Steves. Some of those Steves in the world are like, they scare me, because I know some people aren't doing bad work, but there are some hibernation bears out there that I'm like, ooh, twitch. So, but I really think that you guys can do something great, and I think taking a break and pouring your passion into other things outside of development can be a super helpful way. So my last tip is just take small breaks, take big breaks, swing back and forth, and keep yourself healthy and in check as you're developing and learning and growing. Because, good Lord, our brains need a break sometimes. But yeah, a quote from somebody who came up to me afterwards: a good surfer knows when to get on a wave, and they also know when to get off the wave. So yeah, that's my talk, guys. Thank you so much.